Hello. How's everybody doing today? Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Pat Trading Partners, along with Bob Biagino. By the way, he will be on. Slight pause there because he's got to be in studio until 4:30 Eastern. This starts at 3:30, so he might be a little delayed tomorrow. But planning on having him on. We were having a little quick text earlier, just he might be a few minutes late, so we'd start off normally, and then when he's available, we will put him on. Just a heads up for anybody who wants to hear what Bob has to say about anything. I don't know why you would, but in case you do, there you go. There you go, there you go, there you go. By the way, if you're new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing the bell, and hitting the like or dislike button. So I hope everyone had a fine day. This is a perfect also example of why we do everything based off the closing price. Doesn't mean you can't take actions during the day, but look at the difference it makes between the lows, and I'll show you some stuff I've talked about multiple times of how you could have jumped on this, but here you go, temporarily breaking the trend line, dipping down even below this 75% level. Remember, the 65 and 62.5% is the key line stand for a closing price, and then rallying all the way back up, nearly finishing unchanged with Friday. Still expecting some higher prices this week. That just pushed it down into sort of a short-term capitulation bottom. Before we get to more things, hello, wavy, nearly 100-point bounce off the lows for the ES. Yep. And that's again why you always judge everything off a closing price. Bull. All right, I'm not picking on you, wavy. Can somebody explain to me bull trap or is continuation upwards possible? And before you attempt to, you can start typing in the chat here. But so let's say we rally up to 4,700. Then we roll over. Is that a bull trap, or did it continue higher? Where does a bull trap end and where does it start, and who's trapped? Okay, because all right, if people bought down here, some smart money bought down here, and then they get out up here, was it a trap for them? Who are you talking about a bull trap for? Because again, there's a whole bunch of different market participants. There's a whole bunch of different players. That's why I just hate those generic terms. It's like risk on day or risk off day. Did that mean every stock sold off or every stock rallied? You have a rare days that can happen. Well, it's not every stock, by the way, but you can have the majority. But what does that mean? What do these terms mean? So that's why I hate just throwing those out. So if we continue higher, because yes, I'm expecting still a continued bounce. And am I expecting new highs at this point? No. So if we don't make new highs and then roll over, was that a bull trap? I just don't know. I don't understand the terminology. So that's where does a bull trap start and end? That's what I'm confused on. Amit, welcome. Close above the trend lines for now. Yep, and it just softened it. It softened it, and I'm still expecting longer term lower price action. But as I said before, I was expecting a rally. Now we got a sell-off, which is why first, before we got the rally, and I'm looking for this to continue tomorrow. Remember, we have some Fed speakers tomorrow. Let's take a look here. Again, there's just the wholesale inventories today, which was higher than consensus. But tomorrow, remember, we have two FOMC meeting people speaking, and then you have Powell talking, with his reconfirmation hearing and other stuff. So that, and people will key off of that. But if there's any, at least semblance of a dovish tone, or, this rally could easily continue. And I'd be really shocked if they said anything that could be construed as more hawkish than's already been put out there. So I doubt that will happen. So we'll have to see. That's why we always prepare for the upside and downside. But with this kind of bottoming price action and that momentum, it's for further upside gains. And again, does that mean new highs? No, not for me, it doesn't. Could we? Sure. But we're going to have to prove a lot before we get there. That's why I love to trail stops. Let me just look again and I'll explain above. And this is again, Jake, why we judge everything on the close. The close is the most important, followed by the open. Why? Because what a difference a few hours makes. At one point, this was a huge red bar and people running for the hills. All right? Great Iron Maiden song, though. Rally back, closing right at the 50% of this decline. So, if you didn't see this big tail and we just had this, it would be just a boring day. This, though, gives us a clear line, another clear line in the sand. Let's see. I'll get to that in a second. Nasdaq erased a 2.7% decline to trade green today. That's got to be a record. I don't know if that's a record. We've seen these kind of moves before in the Nasdaq. We've seen these little bottoming capitulation moves where you have people rushing in. And remember, once this market is starting to roll over, but once it really rolls over and we start in a pretty decent downtrend, remember, in downtrends and bear markets, you get tons of rip your face off rallies, and these are the kind of things you see. And this is a war. This is putting in a short term bottom for me. But once we shift to a bear market, and even we're in sort of a neutral market right now, shifting to bearish, these kind of things aren't very bullish to me long term. They're the rip your face off rallies, and these are rallies that especially in a bear market, are looking to be sold. Just as dips in a bull market are looking to be bought, strong rallies, and you get these massive rallies that everybody thinks that the bottom is in. And then, it rallies a bit. Maybe that's what you mean by bull trap. Maybe then it rallies a bit and then rolls over again. Hey, Christoph, welcome. Yep. Everybody's looking forward to Bob being here. He can steal the show. I got shook out of my entire Tesla position at market only to see it rally $50. And I mentioned the stock that shall not be named. Please join me on the Tesla thing. And I said it again. Yeah, there goes the monetization of this one. I would think about people buying now or holding for new all-time highs, but you are right. And there's going to be people who are just blindly buying stuff or buying, growth momentum that when it rolls over again, and this is where I'll talk about smart money, and I don't, smart money and dumb money again is another. You have more informed players, and whether they be on Wall Street, whether they be with hedge funds, whether they be true professionals, and then you have what is referred to as a dumb money, and I don't like that term really, but we'll refer to that as a lot of more naive retail people. And especially in the last few years, we've had a lot of naive retail people come into the markets, and they will continue, this is the bottom's in, let's just pour our money back into everything that's rolling over. Now, the more informed money, I will call it, will be using things like this to, especially on continued rallies, to unwind positions and stuff and shift money around. Okay, so maybe some people will get trapped back to that original, is this a bull trap question? But is everybody going to be trapped? No. Okay, so that's where you got to, blanket statements are very dangerous, and that's why I hate trying to answer those questions, because there's a lot of people who are going to use any rally to reposition their portfolio into what they think is coming if they're in bearish mode. And a lot of people who've bought the dips and got away for years, you can see even the last few, it's been labored to get to new highs. I mean, we've had dip after dip after dip. Compare that to, we had this dip back in September, but that even rallied back. Before that, it was just buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. And now we're starting to get more warning shots that the structure of the market is changing. So keep that in mind with all your analysis. Yes, it is all relative. Shashi, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the super chat. By the way, if other people want to support the channel, we put this out free. Even Discord is only $10 to join. And I put in the company not should be named. I put in the 1 hour aggressive signal in there. You know, I try to put in as much as possible, but I'm not really looking to charge. I'm trying to get people into this learning stuff. That's why I don't have a huge subscription service, because I'd rather get stuff out there. And if people find it valuable, then do as Shashi did, and please super chat, Patreon, buy me a coffee, donate something. And if it's $2, it's $2. If it's 25, like Shashi did, it's 25. Oh boy, Bob's here. Risk on, risk off, then risk off. Look at this, Bob Iacchino. He's going to be in the live stream tomorrow. I'm like saying this like it's an honor of mine. I've been dealing with Bob how many years now, Bob? Look, I'm excited that you're going to come on. This is fantastic. Risk on, then risk off, and on. Is this double? Is this double super chats? Thank you again, Shashi. That's, you know what? That really makes a difference to the channel. You and Bob wearing matching tie-dyes. I don't think I've ever seen Bob in a tie-dye. The Fed is giving ample warning ahead of time of what's to come. I think they are, you know, and people will keep doing what they are doing. Let me know if you're still in here, Bob. Thank you, Shashi. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. So let's get into some analysis. We always do the bullish and bearish side of stuff. Oh, you're having technical difficulties? That's not a shock. And look how handsome you look, Bob, in that suit with the little pocket thing. This is, I don't even recognize you right now in your picture. You got to fix that picture. No, see, no tie-dye for Bob. Do you even own a tie-dye, Bob? The other way around, Mike is the big cheese around here. Well, if Bob was on here regularly, then he'd be the big cheese, and I'd be like the small little, I don't know what I'd be. Mike, when there's a bigger trend change weekly to daily time frame, how long does it usually take, as we've been in this strong bull? Again, it takes longer than you think generally to put in a top. Tops take longer than bottoms to put in. I've talked about this. It's like turning a big freighter around. Okay, it takes a lot longer to put in tops. Now bottoms generally get put in quickly. Bottoms like this, once it stops, here's the last bottom, and you see just boom, and then you start getting the rallies off the lows with reversal bars with a major percent B buy pattern. That's this and then this. Whereas tops, I mean, this was a minor top, but when you get a major top, I don't even know when the last. Again, look at some of these bottoms, bottoming move, boom, and then quick off of it. You know, this was a little retest, but then a snap little rally. Generally, when you put in major tops, I wish we had some. All right, this was a pretty decent top right here, you know, in 11. And look, this is a weekly chart, by the way. See how long it took to get the top in, and then we got the boom, boom move. Here's the top back in 07. And look at this. Warning shot, little rally. Then, all right, even here, you see here, all right, is it over? Is it over? Is it over? And then kaboom. And then here's the final low. You see how really quick it just turned around? Let's see. Killing day today. Oh, Bob Saki is Italian made. You don't have an Italian made tie-dye, do you? You need an Italian made tie-dye. Can you speak on correcting the VIX when it comes to short-term bottoms? When they say short capitulation, what do you look for? Correlating. We can go through some of that in a bit. Let me just get through this. Both tops and bottoms are always fighting a natural upward bias in stocks. Very good point, Bob. Very good point. So that's generally why you see the tops, you know, takes a while longer to put in the top, because they're fighting the natural, you know, the current is flowing upstream in stocks. So very good point. See, we don't need, Bob's canceled for tomorrow. He's stealing the live stream. He's canceled. Sorry about that. All right. So let's see. Here's a key thing I've talked about multiple times, spiking through down the last harmonics, which could have been updated. Uh, the short-term ones, I'm just going to update. Here's the last little pausing bar before, but that didn't give us anything else with this one. You had to go down to here. We had this little divergence. Let me take one of these off. This divergence, but you know, that's tough to want to play because you get a little single divergence and that's it. But here's the great thing I've talked about with, see these momentum bars? I've talked about this many times. Momentum bars. And then I'll get back. All right, Bob's, I guess Bob's leaving. Thank you, Bob. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great bourbon and a great evening. What's the level off momentum bars that we watch? And this is stocks, this is everything. Any long-term people who've been around here, what's the key level? We watch for a close below to, all right, so I'm watching for a no close below what key level? The 62.5%. And I love these pullbacks between the 50 and the 62. If we base higher, and I've talked about that, if we base higher, then I need a resumption of trend breakout. And waving is 62.5. Yep. So here, did we get a close below 62.5? So you got the momentum, so we get the pullback between the 50 and 62, and then we get a strong reversal up. That's the great signal. And are you trying to buy this bar? No. Did you know this was the low? No. No, you didn't know that was the low. I'm going to show you something. Oh, let me show you one thing here. I texted this to Bob last night. That's why. Let me just, come on. You know, if it's still here. If it's not still here, then maybe they deleted their post. Let's see if it's still here. If it's still here, I'll pull it up later. But, so do you know this is the low? No. But this, you get a really high probability signal then that it's resuming upwards. Okay? Could Bob hook me up with his tailor? You'll have to ask Bob that tomorrow. So then you jump on the trend because we might have a little, we got momentum bars off a low, and then we're looking for a rally up. Okay? And no, was it anywhere near my bullish line in the sand? But this is a pretty high probability bottoming pattern when you see this. And you can take a nice shot because you know a line in the sand for the stop. You get a close below, back below here, you're out. Let's say it rolled over again, then you're out. But look at this. When you do get that nice bottoming pattern, and people today, I couldn't figure out how to get on the trend. Well, that's the way. I talked about these momentum bars repeatedly. I've talked about them repeatedly. I'm just trying to still see if this will come up or not. Maybe it is, maybe the person deleted it. I still have it in a text message, but we will see. All right, so that's your little thing. Now let's go to the longer term analysis. So, bullish line in the sand for tomorrow. Again, it's almost even on a pullback. I got to play a pullback one tomorrow. I'm going about 46.36. So even if we pull back a bit, as long as we stay above this about 46.35, we are in good shape tomorrow for a continued rally. I don't want to over clutter these charts. I'm trying to figure this out. Maybe I'll have to delete this. Sorry. Dogs barking in the background and my wife's on a conference call, so I cannot stop it right now. I'm just seeing. Next key area is the, yep, that was a dog. Was the 46.90 again? Sorry about the interruption. 46.90, 50%. So I'd be watching 46.90 to 4,700 as the next key resistance area. maybe 47.03. That's going to be my resistance area tomorrow. We get above there, it gets interesting because then we're into this clear path. Now, where I'll be watching again for a move up tomorrow is the 62.5% level. If we continue higher, if we get a close above there, then I'm watching for a retest of the high area, not necessarily new highs, but then I'd be watching 47.58. All right, keep in mind we're in neutral mode on the daily. We do not have the bearish signal yet. Also on the weekly, look where we traded down to. That's why we watch this area by the bottom of the rotation zone. So we came down, that's the first test. So now we've weakened the weekly rotation zone. So if we roll over again without making new highs, it's now been weakened already once. We still back above 47, back above about 4,700. That's where the bottom of the rotation zone is. Takes us back technically to barely into bullish mode, but this is getting to really where we'll be stuck in a more neutral longer term. You know, wavy, we could easily hit 4,700 again. Remember, now we have 4,800 is the new line in the sand, so this could easily get in 4,700, even get up to this 4,750 and then roll over again. This got into a pretty decent sell condition, oversold conditions, not necessarily on the RSI, but in a rotation back up. So my first major area I'm watching, I'm still watching tomorrow that 50% of this decline, and then we're watching this 47.03, then we're really watching this 47.20. And that's not just for tomorrow, that's for the next couple days. You know, in those Fed speakers, if there's anything that's construed possibly more dovish, it could just lead to the rally. Can always watch, we're back into the closing into the 4-hour rotation zone. This is the first close in the 4-hour rotation zone since the decline. You see here, we never closed into it. First close. So that's also why I'm expecting a continued rally up in tomorrow. You can watch, I'd recommend really watching this top of the rotation zone. Now that's going to shift with the Asian and overnight price action, so just keep an eye on that. But it's close enough to the 50% level. Even if we start rallying, that'll drag that up a bit. So watch this little area right there. So those are the key levels. This is also a great way if you need to do this is a great time to use the reverse harmonics. And look at that, that's nails the 75. So above the 62.5 intermediate, because we're in a clear path move, 47.33. Now to the downside. My first little areas is 46.36 to about 46.31. We break through that. We're then back into a clear path going down, and I will target this 4,600 to 46.02. Below there, I will then be watching for right around, let me take a look here. Below there, I gotta then go to this little base, and then this little area right here, which is 45.90 and then 45.78. Now keep in mind, I'm going to take these lines off after I draw them, but this is a great thing. So if you want to watch here, right now, you see here, just look where the 62.5 is. Let me change the color on this. Let me change the color. We'll go to blue. 62.5. What does that come in with? This little resistance shelf becoming support. This was the first momentum bar rally up. So now on any bullish move, I have a clear line in the sand of where I don't want it to go below. Yes, it could retrace a fair amount. Look, it could even retrace the 50% level quite easily. But my line is, if we get down to this 46.07 and close below it, then that is where we need to reassess, and then I'll start targeting new lows. Okay, so that is going to be key on any pullback, but you get a warning sign before that because you'd start going through again. You can keep an eye tomorrow on the 15-minute rotation zone should we stay above it, and especially if you get the first cross of the 1 hour, start watching that for pullbacks. But that's the way you can sort of gauge. And as it goes higher tomorrow, you ratchet this up. You ratchet your line in the sand up. Okay, so that's a great way to use those little retracements. Let's switch over to the, there we go, Nasdaq. Nasdaq, what was it? We ended up 22 basis points higher. Nasdaq, by the way, there is no on the S&P. Let me flip back here real quick. I forgot to mention something. On the S&P, there is only in the morning tomorrow on the first 4 hour bar, there's only an aggressive buy signal on a close above this high of 46.67. There's no signal off of these two bars. There's only a shorter time frame signal. On the Nasdaq, there is no daily signal, and this did trigger an aggressive buy signal. Okay, this was an aggressive buy signal trigger on this close. Just want to get that out of the way. You see here our longer term harmonics, while we always prepare. We had 15,173, just spiking below that. And then also, what do you have here? I'll just do it on the 15-minute. You have your momentum bars. Make sure I got that right. And this one did actually close below the 62.5, which was not ideal. And then you got the strong momentum. So there was no little trigger for me down here because we closed below the 62.5. But then once we broke out to new highs after this little pausing bar, that's the momentum signal. So that was one of the few occasions that did not work right there, but nothing works 100%. So you have to be cautious, and I have to wait till it breaks above those highs to get some kind of confirmation. So there was no, even with this strong momentum bar for me, there was no confirmation up move because we closed below the 62.5. So I had to wait till these highs got taken out. Then we have that same little thing with the line in the sand for 62.5. So that's right at this peak area also. So that's your line in the sand right now, 15, about 325. So as long as it stays above there, it is looking good for at least a continued, well, that's a great area for a stop. Let me remove some of these other lines now. So where's my bullish line in the sand for tomorrow? Pull some of these lines out. We'll have to redo them. Pretty much as long as we stay, oops, I didn't want that line. Where's my other, there it is. Pretty much as long as we stay above about 15,550, I'm in bullish mode for tomorrow. Let's take a look. We're in bearish mode technically on the daily, so this is where I'm watching for potential rollovers. Okay, rollovers. The 62.5 is just above the weekly, the daily rotation zone. So, and the bottom of it's right at this 50% level. So on any rally, this is aggressively, if you're long down here, because we're still below, we broke critical support. Okay, so we have a lot of overhead resistance. So on any rallies, if you're long here, it's aggressively, especially in the Nasdaq, moving up stops. All right, that's where it sits right now, especially in the Nasdaq, moving up stops. So tomorrow, let's see what we do to the upside. Just reset that to there. To the upside, the first level I'm watching for resistance is right around 15,677. Then we get through there. Let's see. I really have to just use some harmonics above there. About 15,733, 15,798, which is right at this little resistance shelf, which is really nice. And then above there, I'm going to 50% level, which is about 15,900. So those are my upside targets. So we did get through that. My next target, you see we had a key level right there, about 15,978, and the harmonic is at 15,986 area. And then above that, we have the 62.5 with another harmonic, so about 16,090, 16,082 to 16,090. Those are all the levels. On a pullback, this is where it's sort of tough to do, but because I will be watching some of these shorter term rotation zones, but right now we start getting a pullback. My first level of support is about 15,475. We drop below that. Let me get to 1 hour. Let's see. Yeah, about here. We're about the 50% of this up move, right around 15,385, and then below that, I'd be targeting about 15,270, but we'd be out of bullish mode once we really start dropping below that again. So that's where that stands. Oops, I forgot to switch back to the Nasdaq. Let's see what questions we have. Yeah, I saw that. Diamond thinks there are 4 rate hikes in 2022. We'll see if that happens. Boeing, please. They have deliveries tomorrow. We'll take a look at Boeing. Don't trust the banks. It's all about their business. Higher rates, margins on loans, and financial lending and margin accounts. I don't trust a lot of things. They've been pitching the Fed to raise rates for a while. Yep. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I was just dealing with getting the company that shall not be named thumbnail. All right. Let's take a look at the Dow. The Dow actually ending down the weakest, 46 basis points. I was watching to see if it closed above the daily rotation zone. Did not. Technically in neutral mode. Coming back down, we have 35,562 bouncing off there. The Dow is actually the weakest, and the Dow has a potential buy on a close above today's high. You can see here rally into the rotation, just a 4-hour rotation zone. So that's my first level I'm going to be watching. And then then I'm watching about this 36,120. That level staying the same. Bullish line the sand for tomorrow. Let's fine tune this. Yep, it's a good guess. About 35,735. I think banks are very happy with the hikes. Banks love the hikes. That's why the banks are rallying. Overall. Let's see. I'm then at 36,120. There's not a lot. You can put on the little retracements here just for an idea. So you don't want the Dow is at this level to drop below about 35,700 is about your line in the sand on the Dow. You get rolled back over below that. Not good. There's a lot to chew through on the upside. So I'm just going to be watching about this 36,120. Then I'm going to about 36,233. Then I'm still about this 36,355. And for support, I'm going to be watching the lower time frame rotation zones, but on any pullback, I'm going to bump up my little line in the sand a bit at that 50% level, about 35,750. I'm raising my bullish line in the sand right there. So on any pullback, as long as it stays above 35,750, I'm in bullish mode for tomorrow. Let's see. Let's see. All right, we have some requests. I'll get to those in a second. Let me just do Boeing. Boeing, you said there were deliveries tomorrow. Nothing's changed in my perspective. I mean, it's just pulled back to the daily rotation zone. We have this little minor double top. But what's interesting is Boeing, we have the longer term double triggered. We have this minor double. Let me just see where those targets are, though. I mean, it's still technically reversing. You could actually come down here, fulfill that other double, and still not stop out this double. So again, and we're holding still above the rotation zone. So there's nothing to do from my perspective yet with Boeing. It's just working off. It ran up pretty hard. It's now you got a little mini divergence up here. It's pulling back, but you'd need to get it back below this about 192 area before you'd be stopping out this double bottom that's triggered. So again, nothing besides we might just get the slightly bigger pullback in Boeing. But you got to stick with the longer term patterns. This is not a stock I'd be looking to day trade. You know, even this is a swing trade. So it's just a pullback after triggering a double, making a little minor topping pattern. And it's not technically triggered yet. It's confirmed, but not triggered. You need to close below this low at 207.86. And then I'd just be watching for a slightly bigger pullback and then still a rotation back up. All right, now I can get to these other ones. Coop SQ net, please. Oh, I haven't looked at Coupa in a while. Never triggered that potential double. Little divergence down here. Let's see, this is one I don't look at all the time. It's also where we have to use the most recent swing. Remember, the long-term swing and the most recent term swing are the most important ones. Right there, it looks like we're getting a little reversal. Let me see on a shorter term time frame. You got a little mini double bottom right there, which is valid. And it is triggered. And that's a triggered trade right there. Slightly lower probability because you're against the daily and the 4-hour rotation zone and against the weekly, but you could easily fulfill that double and be still below the weekly. You could either easily fulfill that double and still not get above the daily. So the only rotation zone you're really fighting right now is the 4-hour, which is right near the stop reduction. And then I'd watch it and let's look at this gap. So again, you could come up here for a continued rally, especially in the Nasdaq, coming off that little thing, fill the gap, complete the double target, and then technically roll over again. So that's the only thing I see in Coop right now. Not a square. Take a look at the weekly. I don't have the only super aggressive play would be on a daily close above about 141.54, but you're right against the rotation zone, and then you slam into this prior support. So that would be that's a play that you have to really manage your stops closely if you're going to take. This was a buy signal on a 4-hour time frame, but then you're again super aggressive. There's no double here. You don't even have a divergence there. So you did get a 4-hour trigger. We could get a daily trigger tomorrow, but that would just be I'd be watching for returns to the 150 158 level, 157.50, 158, and then to the top of the rotation zone about 163. So we're closer to 164 right now, but that's going to keep declining and flattening out, and you have this resistance shelf right there. So if you're going to do anything to the long side, that's an aggressive play to the long side. That's all I see there. Net, I can pull this off. Ooh, broke key support, weekly bearish mode, daily bearish mode. Yeah, I literally don't have anything on Cloudflare. This technically triggered a buy signal today, closing above this high, the high back from the 6th of January. Again, very aggressive against the daily rotation zone, against the weekly rotation zone, against the 4-hour rotation zone. Let me just see here. See, I would not be these kind of things is like catching a falling knife. So you get in on a rally and you just got to keep moving your stops up aggressively because you have resistance here right around this 114 level. You're just sort of playing on a quick bounce, and then you have definitely you get above there about 128, right around here, and that's where you just have to keep. I'd probably move up my stop on a continued rally at 114, then about 119 area, then about 128 area. And if it starts rolling over, you're out again because you're against the daily and weekly rotation zone. So you're just trying to pick a very short-term bottom on those, which they're tough to manage. So as long as you're up for managing them and aggressively moving up a stop, you're fine. Earnings on that isn't till when? 10th of February. And then Netflix. Netflix is interesting. We have a potential bottoming bar in there. Let me take a look at the shorter term price action. A 4-hour close tomorrow on the first 4 hours above 543.61 is a buy. Remember, you're against the rotation zone. You still have some gaps in here. You have a daily close above today's high is a daily buy, 543.69. Again, aggressive. This isn't very oversold condition. And it did just recently break the 200 with a gap. So if it does get a rally on, again, this is one you have to move up the stops. I'd watch for the gap fill and a retest of this 200 simple with the declining daily rotation zone. So those are the only buy signals I have in that. There's no longer term yet, and you have to manage that with stops below today's low because it could easily come up even into the 4-hour and then roll back over and still trying to put in a bottom. This is just a spike low at this point, but there is an aggressive buy signal. Just wondering where the just on this last decline, 50% is there. Overall decline. All right, so that's the little bit with Netflix. We start a position on XLF, the financial spider. Again, nice today. I mean, we're coming up. You're getting a little divergence, but this is the first retest of prior resistance becoming support. See, I came up here, tested, spiked above, closed below, closed just below, then coming back, and now a retest of it. So that's a really nice little just buy with the prior resistance becoming support. You do have to keep your stop back down here though, because even if it's retraced further, it's still a longer term buy pattern on the XLF. See on the weekly, coming up here and sort of making this more of a longer term pattern in here and holding that. So Yeah, as long as you don't really get a close back below about this, where, let's see. I'd even take it right around, as long as, to me, you don't get a close below about 39.30, you're fine with anything in the XLF. We'll take a look at ARC. Then I got ARC might have put in just a little short-term bottom. We remember we had 80.12 to about 80.51, still not close below the 62.5, but we got a little bounce off of that. Now I can finally update my levels. Finally update my levels. This might have put in a little short term, but again, see, if I said, all right, this is I mean, who's interested in buying ARC down here? Because it's at the same level we looked at with some of those other stocks. You might get a rally. I would not be surprised to see a little mini rally, especially the Nasdaq keeps rallying in ARC. But is this something you want to own long term? No, and you got to be real nimble because it could easily run up and roll over again. That's where these are tricky, because this is not a lot of these tech and the high flyer names from before. I don't really want to own on a longer term basis. And they're still trying to put in at least just a short term bottom, but longer term, yeah, you get this little bounce. But even on a return to 90, $91, you still haven't even returned to the weekly rotation zone, and then you can rotate back over. By the way, 74.50 is next level with the 200 week simple moving average. So that's what when I shouldn't say if, I should say when we roll back down below this 80-10 level, that's the next level I will be watching. Well, it looks different than last time around along, but remember, it takes a while to put in a top. So that's why what I said before I saw Bob in here before is this is why it's a great place to trail stops. So you get in something, especially with the S&P and Nasdaq, and you just keep trailing your stop higher. And you're not, if we go to new highs, then fine, you trail a stop all the way to new highs. But if we don't roll back over, you've captured some kind of bottom. You've taken something out of it. Remember, you're not trying to call the low and the high. You're trying to take something out of it. And if it turns into something longer term, then fantastic. If it rolls back over, then you're out. Let's see. Google. Let's see. Double top on Google. On which time frame? That's just no, that's not, that's just a mess. This is just a longer term, I don't know what you'd call this. It's almost turning into a horribly sloppy, deformed Head and Shoulders, but again, this is, I don't really have anything. It's just got a real clear line in the sand to me about 26.50 area. Start getting rolling back below there and watch out below for Google. Until then, 2800 would be the first level we get back above there. You're just in this huge sort of not acute. What's the opposite of accumulation? Dispersion, distribution. That's what I was looking for. Distribution pattern. This is like just a longer term, very sloppy top. You just can't use any good downside targets just yet besides retracements in Google. Well, thank you, William. Hit the like for this guy. I approve. I approve of that message. Thanks, Shashi. Mini double. Yep. They're quick trades. Those are not something. And if you want to try to go for something longer, Shashi, trail a stop. Don't just know where your stop levels for anything I reviewed of yours is, because you're going against all that overhead resistance and the rotation zones. So you got to make sure you ratchet up your stock. You don't want to turn anything if you happen to catch a short-term bottom, you don't want to turn them into losers. Remember that. Do you see a double? Well, I need to go over that 1 hour ZN. I was going to go over ZN. Thank you for reminding me about the treasuries. This is looking like a little bottoming formation. Here's their daily. We have this harmonic down here. We've tested it twice. You see the wicks coming in right there. This, I was watching it, and I'll show you why I was watching this. It's a horribly sloppy double thing mess, but here's what I like. Look at the yield. Even with this extra rotation in there, look at the yield. This is 1 hour. This is a 10Y1 bang. The micro 10-year yield futures. You see this? This is clear. That's a nice double top that was actually triggered. So I'm watching for these pullbacks. I wouldn't be surprised to see it back to what 1.74% area. Now, how's that playing with this? So we have these this double bottom you can watch for because you have these extra hitches. And this is the move that really started it. So that could possibly take us back to 128.22, which is another reason. Now, this didn't trigger on the notes yet. It did trigger on the yield. I'm still watching for that, but this looks like it's trying to get in at bottom on a severely oversold condition. And even completing this little pattern doesn't even take it back to the daily rotation zone. The first target takes you back to the 4 hour, but you've got waning momentum. See on these pushes down, we got some waning momentum coming in there. And it's trying to roll up out of this oversold condition. Why can't that open? So that is looking like, and I've talked about this over the past couple of days. Let's just take a look at the weekly. Look how far off the weekly it is. So, and look at that. That's the 12.5% retracement, and it wouldn't even take us back to the weekly. So yeah, that's why I'm also suspecting if we start getting a decline in yields, a bounce in the notes, then we could. That's supportive of a short-term rally in the broad market. So thanks for that's the word I was looking for. Distribution. So that's, keep in mind, that's why I would not be surprised to see a continued rally, because it also looks like we're bottoming in treasuries right now. Let's take a look at some of these other. There's the 2-year. 2-year, not yet. 2 years trying to. It's got a triple bottom. But again, this is trying to get up. I'd be watching, if it continues to rally on the 2 years, I'd be watching about 108.26. 5-year, sorry. 5-year looks like we came off this divergence bottom. This is still a potential double on the 5-year. Because this would really be the move that started it. Even if you, then it's technically this area that started it, but even if you're focused on this area, you could easily move up in the 5-year and the 10-year. Let's just check that daily and look at this, how far gone it is. This is the daily. Here's your daily rotation zone all the way up here, and you could easily complete that little pattern and then roll over. All right. Oh, I was going to take a quick look at Bitcoin. Then I got to wrap this up because the company that shall not be named is going to be a little late on the live stream. Could somebody type that in Discord, letting everybody know it's going to be about 5 minutes late? Bitcoin, which I've been bearish on for a while, also looks like it's attempting to put in at least a short-term bottom. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. That's not a double yet, but I am watching it for a short-term bottom, especially if we get a close above are right around this 42,700. Now, Ethereum, look at this. How long ago did I have these targets on here? From this double, and we finally completed. Actually, this could be a little mini double bottom for Ethereum. I'll have to map that out later. I want to wrap this up, but we finally hit the full double top target on Ethereum. So again, these are pretty overdone. Would not be surprised to see a bounce, but a bounce is very different from a long-term. This I'm putting in those same things as a bunch of those tech stocks. You get a bounce in here. I'm watching for a return to some of these daily rotation zones and then a rollover move again. All right. Yep, but you got to stick with it, and it never approached the stock. It took a while. Which stocks, Coco? I've run it. I didn't see any stocks from you. I'm going back through. I didn't see any stocks listed from you, Coco. Can you check these stocks, please? I don't see any stocks listed. We will have to do it tomorrow. Okay? I don't see anything else. That's the only message I see from you. Other than that, please let me get wrapped up so I can do the other live stream. And I'll talk to everyone later.